Brothers and sisters in the Dharma, may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. We are going to have a presentation titled 10 Important Life Lessons to Live By, and we are going to show a PowerPoint presentation and we go over the slides to show what these 10 important life lessons are. Now, we will show you the PowerPoint by now launching the PowerPoint. So from the beginning, you can see now our slide, 10 important life lessons. Actually, these life lessons are actually also Dharma teachings, which will help us to live more peacefully, happily, and meaningfully. And the texts are in English and Chinese, but we will do the narration and comments in English. So this is the cover slide, and you can see the animated images. Now, let us now go on to the next one. Before that, let me take off my video. This is also the cover slide showing the 10 important life lessons to live by as the title of the presentation. And you can see that this presentation actually is based on the Dharma as founded by the Buddha. And you can see some animated images here. Now let us move on to show what these 10 important life lessons are. So we will now go to slide number 3, which is actually the first of the life lessons. Practice charity constantly. Now, of course, charity in Buddhist terms refers to dana, which can also be translated as giving or generosity. And that is a very important spiritual practice, which is also carried out in all religions. Now, one of the motivators, Brian Tracy, said, always give without remembering and always receive without forgetting. Now, you do not give with some intention of getting something back in return. After a person has given, you should just let it go and do not expect anything. You just give out of a good heart of just helping. And the person who receives the help is his responsibility and good practice to remember, to appreciate and show gratefulness or gratitude. That is not the job of the giver. That is an important point to consider in the practice of charity or dana. Now let us move on to slide number 4. Now slide number 4, let us see this. Is the second one, which is serve the needy. Serve the needy, the people who really need help. Today, you know, there are so many in great suffering because of various factors like social unrest, wars, climatic changes bringing about a lot of natural disasters and so on. So a lot of people are in dire straits and need help. And this is a good spiritual practice to reach out where we can. Now, Martin Luther King said or asked, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Now, you find it's difficult to find people who would want to help or reach out. It is a world where it is more centered of I, me, and mine, to be just concerned with ourselves, to have that selfish attitude, and to just enjoy yourself ourselves as much as possible. So this is a set of affairs in terms of spiritual practices. So we should give it a thought to reach out to other people. And that is a very important practice. So this is the important point we need to consider. Now let us go on to slide number 5. Keep your moral precepts. Now this refers to morality. I think you know that all religions also have their what do you call it, moral practice, a very important morality, isn't it? In Christianity, you have the Ten Commandments, and you also have the the moral precepts in Islam, Hinduism, and all other religions. In Buddhism, for the lay Buddhists, it's important to keep the 5 moral precepts of no killing, no taking what is not given or stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and also in conjunction with that, no slander or malicious speech, no harsh speech, and then also no intoxicants. So these are the training rules for the lay Buddhists. And a person who does not have moral practice will not be at peace in the mind. And the Catholic saint Thomas Aquinas said, happiness is secured through virtue. And of course, virtue is tied up with the morality. It is attained by man's own will. It is your mind that should be channeled into practicing moral conduct. And you see that inside every one of us, there is a conscience, right? So you can see the animated image shows the good force, people say Satan, and then the good force, the angel or the deva, and then the evil force personified as Satan. So we have a conscience, you see, but at the same time, we have the temptations by the evil force. So we need to be very careful and do what is right or wholesome. Otherwise, there is a price to pay. So this is the important message given in the live lesson, or you can say Dhamma lesson also, number 3. And that is slide number 5. Now let us go on to slide number 6. Now slide number 6, what does it say? Be mindful always of your thoughts, speech, and bodily actions. Now being mindful means being aware or knowing or remembering, right? To always look into the mind of what you are thinking or what you speak. Even before you speak, you have to know or be aware of what is going to come out. And then after speaking, you have to also review. And then, of course, the bodily actions. Now, the thoughts must be free from evil or unwholesome things. And likewise, also the speech and the body, you see. So this is a very important spiritual practice of having good thoughts, good wholesome speech, and good wholesome bodily actions or deeds. Tinahan, the very famous Vietnamese monk, said that with mindfulness, you can establish yourself in the present in order to touch the wonders of life that are available in that moment. Actually, Tinahan's work center on the importance of mindfulness, to be always aware of what is going on in the mind, to be with the moment, and the practice will actually uplift your spirituality. So that is a very important practice to keep the mind into the present and not to go to the past and dwell on it, and then with regrets, remorse, guilt, or to run to the future and be speculative and to be worried about what is uncertain and what is yet to come. So this is the part of the Dharma lessons at slide number 6 about being mindful. Now let us go on to slide number 7. Learn, reflect, and practice on Buddha's discourses. Now, as I said, this is actually based on Dharma lessons, which actually are also life lessons, which will help us to live more happily, peacefully, and meaningfully. So the Dharma discourses are actually the teachings given by the Buddha that can be applicable actually to all because they help us to be more happy, more peaceful, more wise, and live more meaningfully. So we need to learn these good teachings. Of course, the other religions also have very good life lessons. So the important thing is to learn them and then to reflect on them. And very important is to practice. Otherwise, they will just remain as theory and not actualized. So this is one quotation or to say a very important saying, learning ardently and realizing the Dhamma, we will all attain and the cessation of all dukkha. Now, dukkha refers to suffering or pain or stress, and the best way actually is to learn the life lessons very with great passion. And then also, after the practice, to realize, practice, put into action and realize the life lessons, then you will put a stop to all the dukkha or suffering. That is this important life lesson number 5, which is at slide 7. Let us now move on to slide number 8. Have enduring patience, determination, and persistence. Now, these 3 qualities are very important for your happiness, peace, and wisdom arising. Now, in any spiritual practice, we need to have patience, right? And then we have the determination to arrive at the goal of your spiritual practice and not to give up easily, to be very persistent. Now, that is a very important point. Now, this motivator, Napoleon Hill, said something very important. He's a great motivator, has written many books. He said that patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. Now, let us look at these 3 P's. Just now I mentioned the importance of patience and then persistence, to go on and not to give up, to persevere on and not to give up. And the third point, which is very important, perspiration, refers to the diligence, the effort, the energy. So without these 3 factors, you can not get truly the success either in the material world or in the spiritual practice. So this is a very important message from Napoleon Hill. Now let us go on to slide number 9 now, which is life lesson number 7. Now it says, contemplate on the Dharma constantly. Or you can say contemplate on the life lessons. The contemplation would imply the reflection, the constant pondering over the life lessons that are being taught in the religion. Now here, there is regard to the Buddhist religion on what we call the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness is very strongly emphasized in the practice of the Dhamma. And the 4 foundations of mindfulness, or we can say the 4 establishments of mindfulness, to remember to put our attention, our awareness, our mind on 4 things actually. And these 4 things are the most important things that will lead us to the end of suffering. And the first one is to be mindful of all bodily things. What happens to the body? The second one is to be mindful of the feelings, whatever feelings that we have, hateful feelings, greedy feelings, and so on. And then the third one is the mind state, what mind state the person is in. And the fourth one is what we are referring here. The fourth foundation is Dhamma contemplation, to reflect on the important Dhamma teachings. I'm not doing the Dhamma teachings. My posts have done a lot of the Dhamma teachings. So this sort of practice is necessary to lead us to liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from suffering. So I like this quotation that says that there is no greater wealth in this world than peace of mind, isn't it? If you don't have peace of mind, how can you be really happy? Your mind will be disturbed despite all the wealth or possessions or power that you have. You don't have peace of mind. No wonder the suicide rate is increasing. Now that is slide number 9. Let us now go on to slide number 10. Always persevere with diligence. Now, just now I spoke a little bit on diligence already, isn't it? Persevere, also I have spoken on that, to go on and not to give up easily. You have heard of the successful inventors or writers who persist on despite the initial failures. They don't give up. One very famous scientist, Thomas Edison, who invented electric bulb, and he persevered on and tried so many times with hundreds of failures, but he did not give up. He had a very positive attitude, even though it was a failure in the initial attempts, but he said that those would teach him good lessons of what would not work. Now, that sort of attitude, very, very important. And of course, diligence, one of the most important qualities that we must have to be successful in the world, material success, worldly things, or also in the spiritual practice. If you don't have diligence, you cannot be successful actually. Even the Buddha, struggled for 6 years before he got enlightened. And Albert Einstein said, genius is 1% talent and 99% hard work. So he emphasizes the importance of diligence and perseverance. Right? So it's not just, I'm very talented and I can be successful. So these animated images illustrate the point. Now let us go on to number 11 now. Number 11, which is the 9th life lesson. We have 10 important life lessons. Watch the mind. Read the mind of unwholesome states, develop wholesome mental states. Now, you see, most of us are careless as far as our mind is concerned. We let the mind run wild like a monkey and are not paying attention to what the thoughts are. So we need to watch the mind so that we will know if there were any unwholesome, or you can say bad states, like being greedy, being angry, being egoistic, then we must get rid of them. When you note them, you know they are unwholesome, then they will go off. And this is the training. And likewise also, we need to develop the good states of generosity, kindness, non-attachment. All those good spiritual qualities we must develop. Let them come in or sustain what you have these good states in the mind. Now, this is a very good quotation from the motivator Andy Pundicom. We can't always change what's happening around us. Certain things that happen in the world are inevitable, and you can't do anything about those things, like, climatic changes or natural disasters. But we can change what happens within us. In other words, our response or our reaction towards whatever happens in the outside world, or even the states that arise in our mind, we can respond in wise, meaningful, and good ways. This is a very good point to consider. Now let us go on to number 12 already. So, now what is number 12 now? Do meditation consistently, both tranquility and mindfulness meditation. Now, mindfulness meditation is actually what we call insight, INSIGHT, that will lead a person to have wisdom into the true nature of things. Tranquility meditation is the concentration meditation to develop the concentrated mind, the composed mind, the still mind. And it is very important to meditate. The Buddha said that meditate, do not wait before it is too late. You will regret, right, when you don't meditate. And when the time comes towards the transit, then you find that you have not made progress in the mental development through meditation. Now, Ajahn Brahm, the very famous Buddhist monk, said that meditation is like a gym in which you develop the powerful mental muscles of calm and insight. That means calmness, concentrated mind, composed mind, a still mind, and then to get the insight arising to be able to see the true nature of things. That is what Ajahn Brahm said, a very important statement. Now we come to the last slide. The next slide, I put in this very important event for Buddhism. But actually, they can also be applied to all people who are striving to end suffering. Now, the Buddha in his parinibbana, that means that occasion where he is going to pass away into parinibbana, he said, "Behold, old monks, this is my last advice to you. All component things in the world are changeable. They are not lasting. Work hard to gain your own salvation." Now, this is not only applicable to monks or nuns, actually it's applicable to everybody, right? That all component things, worldly things, things that depend on causes and conditions in the world, they are impermanent. They do not last. They arise and cease, which means they are not lasting, they are impermanent. So we need to really practice and see this impermanent nature of all worldly things. The only permanent thing is actually Nibbana. So then his advice, Buddha's last advice, work hard. Here you will see the emphasis on diligent practice. Diligent practice, not to become a millionaire or billionaire, but even more important, and that is our freedom, our liberation from all dukkha or suffering or stress. So that is this very important message of the Buddha. So we have now come to the end of this presentation, and Before we say sadhu 3 times, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all those people who are following this presentation. You have spent time and expended energy to follow this. I've shortened the presentation to follow this presentation with good concentration and mindfulness. So for this, I say sadhu and thank you. As usual, we will say sadhu 3 times. So we will put our palms together and then say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Our brothers and sisters in the Dharma, may you all be well, happy, peaceful, and may you continue to learn important life lessons, reflect on them, and put them into practice. And you too, one day, will be free from all suffering, all forms of suffering. Take care.